Uh, Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Now we are on Sutra 22 of Book 1. Actually, the last Sutra 21 and this one 22. Tavariya Sahib has cut them out of Book 1 and he has taken them to Book 3. So, I mean, he's talking of something very advanced over there. And I was wondering, because they seem to be in sequence when we did the Videha, the Sampragnat Samadhi, Videha and Prakruti Layana. And then we said Tivra Samvegan Nam Asanaha, that those whose intensity and those whose motion is fast and moving fast. And in that moving fast or in intensity, there are three kinds which he's talking about today. Mrudu, Madhya.
Sir, can you please speak louder? Your voice is very soft.
Oh, 1 minute, we'll just.
My phone is on high volume.
Is it, Himali, are you also facing that problem?
To me, it's okay if someone else can also say. Kundraji, are you able to hear Rajan Bhai? Yes, it's clear. Vatsalaji, ears, maybe have an earphone or something.
You have an earphone? You want to put this a little higher?
Oh, actually, now the sound is fine. In between, actually, your communication is a little weak, so the voice cracks in between.
So it's because the net is not correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not perfectly,
Yeah.
So whenever we have yellow and red bars, तो वो connection drop हो जा रहा है. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Again, it's Ketav, you need to do something.
It's in the net.
It's in the net. Okay.
Or reboot it again.
अभी
भी hang कर जाता है.
वो hang कर रहा है बीच-बीच में अभी भी.
Is it better?
No, Ketav, it's
better.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still,
go back to Oppo.
Your picture is freezing in between.
Let's try this. If it continues, then we'll change. We'll find some other.
Okay.
So as I was saying, this sutra, it is in sequence in Book 1. But here Tavariya Sahib has cut out these two sutras and he's taken them to Book 3. So in actuality, we don't get the sequence. And I was wondering, how to take this sutra. Because normally we would say that Shraddha, Virya, Smruti, Samadhi, Pragna, these can be with Tivra, Samveg, or what we did last time, Tivra. And it can also be done softly, middling, or at a fast speed. So this would have been the normal sequence. And then or we could say that Shraddha, Virya, Smruti, if we take these in sequence, then we can go in sequence softly at a slow speed, at a middle speed, or at a fast speed. That would have been the normal meaning of this sutra. And this is what the normal, but because he cut it out and took it to another, to Book 3, then definitely he's talking of some very high state in this sutra, which we normally cannot see just so easily. So I was a little wondering about this. Of course, I remember AC. 22 he used to always say that my only aim is to confuse you more. So he definitely had me confused with this sutra. Now, then I mean, the normal, what do you call, meaning would be very easy. But what was he trying to tell us when he took the sutra to the other thing? Now, for us, it becomes difficult in the sense that he was a seer. He could just see. And he did not know Sanskrit. He did not know Sanskrit grammar. And he just saw that this is it, and this he wrote it down and put it down. So, and we can't deny what he saw. So then we have to look elsewhere for what he was, where he's trying to point us to, where he's leading us to. Of course, then I asked my son to open out this sutra for me, and of course, you know, sons being sons, they have their own mind, and he told me that I won't give you the meaning of the sutra, I'll just open it out for you. So I said, okay, you do what you can. And he said, the meaning you will have to decide. So I said, okay. Anyway, so let us open out this sutra a little, and then it will give us some indication where Tavariya Sahib was leading us in this sutra. It just doesn't become a, what do you call, something which is in sequence to the last one, that you can achieve that state of prajna either through being in a slow motion or little fast motion or very fast motion. We won't take that normal meaning. We'll try to open it out and see whether we can find some other meaning where he was trying to, take us to, right? So, mrudu, madhya, adhimatratvat, tata api vishesha. And have you put the meaning? Put the meaning. Now, mrudu, the first word, humble, soft. But there it is here within this, it is meant that kind of softness which can be crushed very easily. So it is not just soft, but softness like the petals of a flower, which could be crushed very easily. Or we can say mrudu means something which is slow in speed, slow in intensity, or less in intensity. And as such, because of the slowness, because of the low intensity, it could be stopped. Instead of crush in softness, it could be stopped. So there is a movement, but that movement can be stopped. It is we would say it is a kind of a gentle state where there is movement, and if there is a slight variation, then the movement in the direction in which we are going would be stopped. You know, in the old days when the teachers would teach hatha yoga, one of the things the teacher would tell the student who is practicing the asanas is that you are not allowed to perspire. Of course, now they have heat yoga and so many yogas where everyone perspires. I mean, that has gone out of date. But you have to, when you're doing your asanas, you have to bring the body to a very fine state where it is on the verge of perspiring, and you don't allow it to perspire throughout your practice of asanas, whether you're doing half an hour, 1 hour, whatever practice, you do not perspire, but still you hold the body in that heightened state where you're on the verge of perspiring. And this was one of the basic laws of hatha yoga, which of course today with everything going on TV and everybody teaching asanas and pranayams, a lot of it has been lost in a way. So, same way, you hold your body in a kind of softness where there is some tension and there is some relaxation, and you don't allow yourself to perspire. So we can take the meaning, a little bit of movement on excess on any side and you'll start perspiring. So then the mrudu would be stopped, the slow motion would be stopped. So we could take it in a meaning more like this, that we are holding a state of inner softness. Or we can say the crushing is because of the smallness in scale. So if I have an ant walking upon my hand over here, and the ant is, compared to my scale, the ant is very small. I can push my hand like this and crush the ant. So that is the meaning of mrudu. In scale, it is very small. Then comes the word madhya. Madhya, the normal meaning of the word is middle. And the word madhya comes from the root man, to think, to conceive, manyate iti, to devise, to invent. So man means to look upon something in a certain way. Of course, when we take space, we could all come to a certain, agreement on what is the middle. So if I say the length of this room is 10 feet, then all of us would automatically agree that, okay, 5 feet is the middle, right? But supposing it is speed, and the speed is going up and down. So there is a middling speed, and that middling speed would be decided individually by everyone's mind. So the root of the word madhya is mind, mana. So each one would conceive what they mean by middle. There is nothing like middle, but in everyone's mind, there is a thought or a conception that this is the middle. So to conceive, that is to see things in a certain way. And everybody can have a difference of opinion. Somebody will say this is the middle speed, somebody will say that is the middle speed. And because everybody's mind is different and everybody is conceiving of it in a different way. So madhya in space will be different from madhya in time or in motion. Now, can you give me a pendulum? I forgot it. Huh? Yeah. Now, we just take a pendulum, and what we see in the pendulum, that when it swings, the swing is fastest in the middle. The swing is fastest in the middle, right? But when it comes to the end, the swing slows down. At a point, the swing changes direction and goes to the other side. So middle in space over here, right? Middle in space. So madhya in space over here is adhimatra in speed. We are just coming to that. Am I coming to that? Is fastest in speed. It is not middle in speed, right? Now, when I took this up, then I got some idea of what Tavariya Sahib was trying to tell us, what is hidden in this sutra, and not the normal, commentary on this sutra. So we'll go into this. Now, So mrudu, madhya, you put that on.
Yeah.
Adhimatra tvat. So adhimatra plus tva, that is, tva is the essential nature of adhimatra. Now this word adhimatra, you must go into it properly. That something is separate from the essential nature. I will go deeper into this word. Adhi, that means which from all sides is rising in a way, which is increasing from all sides. So when we, what do you call, fill water in our overhead tanks, right? The water is coming in from one side, but the level of the water in the whole tank is going up together. It is not going up from one side and then the other side, right? So from all sides, that which is rising is adhimatra. Now, matra means to measure. So the measurement of that which is rising. Now, it is rising, but it is rising for a swa-artha, for its own aim. That is, we are rising in consciousness for our aim to realize our divine nature. That so adhimatra means from all sides we are rising, but why are we rising? Swa-artha, for our own artha, which is to reach that, to realize our own divine nature, right? But it the deeper meaning is adhi atirikta. Atirikta means to go beyond, to go beyond. So, I mean, if we have a water tank, overhead water tank, then a time comes when the tank is empty and again the tank is full. But here adhimatra would mean that you're rising and you're going beyond. That is, you cannot go back to emptiness again, right? So what it means is that we are rising from all sides, right? And adhimatra, we are reaching a state where we cannot fall back to the old state which we were in. We are going beyond adhimatra. We are going to a state which is beyond, and we cannot fall back to the old state, right? It could be like, you know, I realize that there is a lot of reaction within me, a lot of anger within me, and I start working upon that anger. And I work a little bit with the anger. I try to become conscious when I'm angry. I try to pause the anger, not become a victim to the anger. But every time I keep falling back, and in one instance, I'm able to hold the anger, observe the anger. But in another instance, I let go and I get angry on someone. And this goes on for some time. And then comes a long period when I stop getting angry. It is not that I'm controlling anger, but I worked with it in such a way that there is no anger left within me to get angry with. And at that point, I move to a state which is now beyond anger. I cannot now go back to the old state of anger. Am I coming across in this? I hope I'm coming across in this. So, mrudu, madhya, right? Adhimatra tvat, and adhimatra is, again, we break it down into adhi, atirekt, and masaha. Masaha means to measure. So we can say a foot ruler is a measure. I measure 1 foot with a foot ruler, right? But now I have risen from all sides, leaving the empty state of the water tank behind. I cannot go back to the empty state, but I have risen in such a way now that it is not possible to measure it also. It is beyond measure. This is the meaning of adhimatra, right? Adhimatra. So from negative emotions, I've risen to a state which is beyond negative emotion. From thinking, I've risen to a state which is beyond thinking. I hope I'm coming across in this, right? And in this tvat, something is separated from that essential nature. In this process of rising, something has separated from that. Mrudu, madhya, adhimatra, tvat, tataḥ. From this, from what? From this whole scale of mrudu. So if we take the pendulum, we will mean the whole scale of the pendulum. From here to here, the whole scale of the pendulum. So here the pendulum is mrudu, here it is madhya, here it is adhimatra, again it is madhya, again it is mrudu. The speed of this whole scale of the pendulum in its essential nature, right? We have used that, we have understood that, and something has separated from that. Now we'll go into this. I'm just trying to bring out the meaning over here. That is, from it or by it or through it, something is separate. So we have used this process of slow or soft, madhya, middling, and fast, adhimatra. We have used this process in the whole scale, and in that we have separated into a separate state, into a different state by going through this process. So here, if he has taken this in book 3, we can see he's talking about a different kind of samadhi over here, a totally different kind of samadhi, which is very different from normally how we would take this. Separated is old means, what does it mean? Yeah,
old me means the way I was before.
Yeah.
Old
but
me.
I have used these 3, this whole scale, to separate. Right? Api. Api has 2 meanings, even and also. Now, if we were to take the old sequence of the sutras, it would mean even those who are in sutra number 19, number 20, right, and 21, they would have a slow movement, what do you call middling movement, and a fast movement, right? That, but also tata api vishesha. In this, he's saying that also would mean that apart from this, there is something distinct. There is another way. There is a different way, something distinct from this. Now, let us go into the word vishesha. A participle, what is it? Why can't we do it?
We are doing it on YouTube, because if we do it on Zoom, and because there is lag in Zoom and YouTube, so there on YouTube the timing mismatch happens.
Right, there's a timing mismatch between YouTube and Zoom, so we can't have the, what do they call it?
Transcription.
Okay.
We have it on YouTube once it is live.
Api vishesha. Now let's go into this word vishesha. Vigataha saho yasmat. Gataha, to move. Gataha, that which has gone. We have that very famous, what do you call, Buddhist slok, gate, gate, param gate, parsam gate, o bhojvi swaha. The gone, the ego is gone, completely gone, definitely gone, the Buddhist Bodhisattva is saying. So gate means something which has gone, something which has gone. No, something which is lost also we can say. Vivata, it has gone in a different way. It has gone in a different way, altogether different way. So Vishesh is something has gone, it has gone in a certain way, and Sesha. Now, Sesh has the deeper meanings in Sesh are two, Shishyate and Sheshati. As Sheshati, it means to hurt and kill. And as Shishyate, it means as a remainder. So Shesh, we could take, if we take both the meanings, say we take a block of wood or a log of wood, then we hurt and kill the wood by putting it in the fire, right? But so putting it in the fire is Sheshati, putting it in the fire. But after the fire is over, the ashes remain is Shishyate. There is a Shesh, there is a remainder, Shesh. Or we can say we saw a lion killing a deer. So lion killing a deer, right? Sheshati, to kill. Then the lion eats up the, what do you call, meat in the deer, and the bones remain over there, which is Shishyate, remain. That is, you get it? Now, she's saying over here, that Vishesha, the movement is such, Gati is such, that there is nothing Shesh remaining. There is nothing Shesh remaining. Vishesha, no Shesh remaining. The movement is such that there is no Shesh remaining. So the essential nature of this movement of Mrudu, Madhya, Adhimatra, this whole movement, the essential nature is taken in a certain way that everything goes away and there is no remainder remaining. Now let us try to put this into some form in which we can understand. Supposing we meet on the road and we talk about some things. And then we part ways, and I'm going somewhere and you're going somewhere. And I say, oh, I forgot to tell that person this thing, I forgot this. So there is some shesh, there is some remainder. There is some remainder. If we see our movement through life, each moment we live, we do not live the moment totally, that there is no shesh, right? Each moment there is some residue left. Right. You go away, I go away, and in my mind I'm saying, he did not treat me properly, this, that, etc., whatever, right? So there is some residue left, and it is this residue which invites the event again and becomes the karma for future action. Am I getting across in this? Now, that is why I was wondering why Tavariya Sahib took this sutra and put it over here. But when we go deeper into this sutra, suddenly it opens out into a totally different this thing. So now he's saying Vishesha, no residue. I meet you, I talk to you, and I go away, and there's no residue at all. You live each moment in totality. To live each moment in such a totality that nothing remains. Now, of course, there are three things at work over here. We must go back into them. If you know, we have this symbol of Vishnu sleeping upon Sheshnag, and that's Sesh. If you can kill that Sesh, right? If you can kill and burn that Sesh with no residue, then the power which comes out of that Sesh, instead of it becoming karma, it becomes Kundalini. It leads you to salvation. Right? Now, I'll take this in a different way. That we meet each other, and in this moment, we separate, but there is something left behind. I felt he did not do this, he did not treat me properly, he was not in a good mood today, his voice sounded this, etc. That Sesh, it becomes a seed for future repetition, right? So out of this meeting, instead of creating new energy, I have created a new pattern. A pattern means a new sanskar, which will be repeated. Now, when that sanskar is repeating, if I can kill that sanskar, which wants to repeat, it wants to make me angry with you again, it wants me to judge you again, it wants me to, it is, I am becoming a victim of that sanskar. If I can kill that sanskar, Sheshati, right, with Vishesha, no remainder remains after that, then what comes out of that sanskar is the Kundalini energy, and it rises. So, so this sutra, there's a lot of deep hidden meaning in this sutra. Now we'll have to go back to space, time, and motion a little bit. Now, everything in life, every event in life, everything, every thought in the mind, every emotion we have, it follows the law of the pendulum. It follows the law of the pendulum. Now, before we can observe the pendulums within our mind, and we must try to observe pendulums in nature, right? So in nature, we see so many things, they swing to and fro. Summer turns into winter, winter turns into summer. Summer can't say that I don't want winter to come, right? At a certain time, the summer has reached its peak, and the pendulum changes direction, and there's movement towards winter. And this movement goes on. In the seasons, we see it. In the tides of the ocean, they go high tide, and from high tide, we go into low tide and high tide, right? And day and night. Similarly, man is steeped in duality, right? The, what you call, inner spirit may be free of duality, but to come into this, what you call, body-brain system, and to work towards a higher state of consciousness, it has to accept duality. In life, everything is opposite. Within us, when we start observing, we observe the law of the pendulum, right? I'm in a bad mood. Maybe I've seen something on TV or something, right? Some minister is doing some corruption, and I say, this country can never progress, and I'm in a bad mood. And I get a phone call from somewhere that, oh, your son or daughter passed in the exam. So from a bad mood, my pendulum swings into a good mood. Can you see this thing? And I am a victim of the swing of the pendulum. So just as winter changed into summer and day changed into night, I changed from good mood, bad mood into good mood. So pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, right? Right and wrong, all these are the pendulums of life, and we keep on swinging between them. And that is the story of our life. Now, supposing I observe one pattern within myself, that I have this automatic habit to judge other people. I have this automatic habit to get irritated when things don't go my way. And I have this habit of, giving my mind to somebody, throwing it out upon somebody. And we meet somewhere, or I come to your home, and some small thing, maybe the tea you have served is cold or something, and I get so upset and I throw it all out on you. So I'm over here. This is the peak of the pendulum, right? Now I come back home and I feel so sorry for what I have done to you, right? And I feel guilty for what I've done to you. And I start saying, oh, I'm not a good person and I'm guilty and I should never do this and I have no right to meet people, etc. So from one end, I go to the other end. Now, can you see when I'm at this end, I've gathered a lot of energy to easily move to this end, right? So the minute I'm guilty and I curse myself and I cry, etc., I've gathered enough energy. I've come to the other side, and again, tomorrow I'm going to meet someone else. It may not be you, right? And I'll find some fault there. I'll judge that person, get angry on that person, again throw it out and give it to him properly. And again, my pendulum will be over here. And then I'll come back home. Again, I'll start crying, and again I'll start cursing myself, etc. And this is the story of my life, right? So these two, which look like two separate events, are not separate events. They are one event. One supports the other. The guilt supports the reaction supports the guilt. Can we see this over here? If I want to be free of this, then I have to be free of the anger and the guilt at the same time. Otherwise, if day is there has to be night. Day and night are not separate things. They are one thing. Summer and winter are not separate things. They are one thing. Right? So I have to look at it this way. I have to say that if I cannot see these two things as two separate things, I have to look at them as one thing and see how I can be free of it. Now, this pathway is a pathway in my brain matter. This pathway is a groove in the mind. So every time I'm angry, I'm moving on that groove, right? And every time I come back to being guilt, I'm moving on that groove. And that groove as residue, as shesh, it is becoming stronger and stronger. It is becoming more powerful and more powerful. So I have to look at both of these, and I have to get rid of that groove, that habitual groove, which habitually takes me upon that path. In that moment, I will be free. In that moment, I'll be free. Now, if I can pause in between, and of course, in between, the speed is the fastest. In between, the speed is the fastest. So it requires hard work on consciousness to come to a state where we can pause in between. Now, if we pause in between and if we rise a little in consciousness, we are over here. But if we rise a little in consciousness, that is, we take the pendulum up a little, then the next swing which is there, we are not over there. The pathway has gone. Both the sides have gone. We have risen on the middle line of the pendulum. This is our pathway of spirituality, to rise in this middle line of the pendulum. I know this is a very difficult thing, but I'm trying to come across in this. Right? Now, we must understand these three very thoroughly. He's saying that the nature of this whole scale, mrudu, madhya, adhimatra, it is something is separate from that nature, from that scale. That is, the minute you rise in the pendulum, you have separated from that scale. That movement of mrudu, madhya, and adhimatra, you have moved vertical. You are not in that horizontal movement. Something has separated, and there is no shesh, vishesha. And if you see Tavariya Sahib's translation, and there is another way, you have gone into another way. There is another way, which he says. Now, let us understand these movements and these motions. Now, and please understand, there is one movement over here which is invisible, and we'll have to come to that movement over here, right? So first we'll take speed. So speed over here is slowest, right? But my mental state is the biggest. Adhimatra, beyond. My mental state is adhimatra, beyond. Now, supposing this is a state of darkness, a state of depression. If I know the law of the pendulum, I know we've come to the limit of darkness, the limit of my depression, the limit of my bad days or whatever. But of course, we are not aware of the pendulum, the law of the pendulum. So we think this darkness is never going to end. My bad days are never going to end, right? And as Tavariya Sahib used to tell me so many times, that even he used to say the last hour before dawn is the darkest, right? So here I'm in such a bad state, depression, etc. Right? Now, what I don't realize is that my inner space is at its highest, adhimatra, but the speed of the pendulum is mrudu, as the slowest. Can you get what I'm trying to say? Now, from here, the pendulum starts moving over in the opposite direction. So now my good days are going to come again. Of course, I don't know, because I'm so identified with my bad days. I'm so identified with my bad days. So I don't know about it. But here the swing has already started and it's moving down. And nobody is there to teach me that there is a state beyond good or bad. Otherwise, I would pause in the middle and rise a little, right? To a state which is beyond, where I can see good and bad below me, right? But I don't know. So I'm moving from here to here. And when the good days come, I think these good days are never going to end. This is the end of the world. I'm the happiest man in what you call the world, etc. Right? And I've identified with this. When I'm here, I cannot see here. When I'm here, I cannot see here. Before we can pause in the middle of the pendulum, we must develop a new way of looking at life, a new way of thinking about life, where we see both together. And when we see both together, we come in the middle, we are free. It is like this, that maybe, in our young days when we were in college, we fall in love with somebody and she's so nice and etc. And we are at this end of the pendulum. Everything is so good and happy days are here again, right? And then we hear that she was talking to this guy over there, and maybe we read one of her messages, she's messaging to somebody else. These days, husband checks the wife's messages and the wife checks the husband's messages, etc. So we read some message, and from this we start moving to this state. Now, when we was here, was this state over there or was it not over there? It had to be, right? Now, if I had, when we meet someone, we go into a relationship with someone. It could be any, it doesn't have to be a love relationship, any relationship. We always realize a person is steeped in duality. Today, this person is very good to me. Tomorrow, he or she may not be very good to me. Maybe the opposite. It is not coming from outside, just in the dark part of her mind that was lying there, that came in the conscious part of the mind, and what was in the conscious part of the mind went into the dark part of the mind. Can you see? And if we realize this in life, that every event, every person, every mind is what you call a victim of the law of the pendulum, we'll never suffer again in life. We'll never be unhappy again in life. We know that this is a part of the deal. It comes with the deal. Both the sides of the pendulum come with the deal. It's a part of life. You want to reach a state beyond happiness, then rise. That is a state where happiness and sadness, they look equal. Savamatvam bhava uchyate. Krishna says Savatvam yoga uchyate in the Gita, right? But that is a different state. We have to work for that state. But we can only work for that state if we first develop a new way of thinking. And in our thinking is always one thing against the other, one thing against the other. Happiness is against sadness. Joy is against sorrow, right? Pain is against pleasure. But pain and pleasure are two same things. One depends on the other depends on this one. Similarly, we have a dark mind, we have a conscious mind. What is lying in the dark mind, it has an opposite in the conscious mind, and what is lying in the conscious mind has an opposite in the dark mind. And we want to bring consciousness to that, to realize that we are this. When I am judging somebody, I am saying this person is a very angry person, right? Or he's a very selfish person. I am also saying at the same time, I am not an angry person, I am not a selfish person. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? We are saying two things at the same time, right? But I don't realize that in my dark mind, selfishness is there. And when it comes to me, I will be selfish. Selfishness will come out, and that other person was selfish will go in. But when I see a selfish person, I see somebody selfish, and I realize my own selfishness at the same time, suddenly I'm free of the opposites. In that moment, I'm free of the opposites. My consciousness has expanded to allow that person room in my mind. I've accommodated that person in my mind. I've expanded to accommodate. I understand that person. That selfishness is a part of the game. I'm also selfish inside. We study the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata, the characters never died. The characters never died. They are eternal, right? Eternal. Now, supposing tomorrow I decide that I want to write a story of my life. What am I going to write? I'll write the story of Rajen. Or what am I going to write in the story of Rajen? Rajen is going to die tomorrow, right? What am I going to write? There's nothing to write. If you want to write, you have to write of the eternal characters, right? So you come to me and you say, there is a sale going on, and everything which was at 100% is now available for 20%. So this inner, desire to get something from nothing comes out within me. You see? Now, I see that you are a very successful person and I want to cheat you a little, right? So who is that character who is cheating? Who is the character who is cheating? Is Shakuni, right? So in Mahabharata, we have a character as Shakuni. Shakuni is sitting in my mind, right? He's sitting in my mind. Now, say tomorrow somebody cheats me. Say tomorrow somebody cheats me. Of course, there's nothing like really cheating, but supposing somebody cheats me, then is the Shakuni in my mind different from the Shakuni in his mind, or is it the same character? The same character. And when we are observing ourselves, when we go into the darkness of our own mind and we see Shakuni standing there and we see this Shakuni has come to meet us, forget his name, right? This Shakuni is an eternal character. He did not die in the Mahabharata. He is an eternal character. Can you see what I'm trying to say? He's an eternal character, and it is in him, it is in me. And when I see both of them together, suddenly I'm in between there is no difference between him, there is no difference between me. In this instance, he may have cheated me, but the seed to cheat someone lies within me also, right? And in this moment, I can be free of it. I climb up the middle of the pendulum. I hope I'm coming across in this. It's a right? Or we can say that, you know, when I was a child, some other, my neighbors, my friend or somebody, will you give me your toys to play with? I said, no, I won't give my toys to play with, right? Of course, we grow up and then, you know, we become a member of the parliament and somebody else wants our chair in parliament and we say, no, I'll occupy this chair till I die. Of course, there's no difference. The body has grown, the child is the same. Is this any different from Duryodhan saying, I won't give even a pinpoint of land to those Pandavas? That Duryodhan, that self-love, that possessiveness, that character is eternal. He did not die in the Mahabharata. It is lying within me. Right? And when I see someone, I'll say, he's such a selfish person. He's not even loaning me his car for one day. Right? Such a selfish person. Right? But at that moment, if I can see the Duryodhan in him and I can see the Duryodhan in me, that is the moment of moksha, freedom. I'm suddenly free of that duality. I move up in the pendulum. And this can only be done through deep self-observation. Right? So these are two poles, right? And we swing between these two poles, right? If I knew a person, that this person whom I'm marrying, there is also a dark side to her nature. There are two sides to her nature, and many times the dark side will come out. It has to come out. That is the law of life, the law of pendulum. Then when the dark side comes out, I'll never get angry. I'll never get upset. I know this is a part of the deal, which I agreed for when I got married. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? So this increases our consciousness. This expands our consciousness. Now, here we must touch upon something else. We must touch upon something else. And so we see that the speed here is the slowest. The speed here is the fastest. The speed here is the slowest. In between it is madhya. But when I'm at this end, is the pull of this end already started? I don't know how to explain this, right? The pull of this end, has it? On the contrary, it is most powerful when I'm over here, because now it is going to pull me in this direction. And that pull is a magnetic pull. When we realize this, suddenly we say, this is it? Is this it? There can be no joy without sorrow, and there can be no sorrow without joy. Can you understand? Later on, we'll come to a sutra where he says, to the enlightened man, everything in the three worlds is sorrow. Why is it sorrow? Because it is the opposite. If you cannot get one, I cannot get joy for the rest of my life. If I want joy, this joy is dependent upon this sorrow. I have to take the package deal. I cannot get one, even though I'm always asking for one in my thoughts, in my, what do you call? But it is not possible. I may go to the temple and tell God that, okay, you give me joy throughout my life. And joy, but God can only say one thing, that this is a package deal. I made both together. I can't give you one. You want one, you have to take the other. Poor people who are standing in the line for the temple, they don't realize this, right? And so this pull of the other side, it is already there. I'm so happy over here. I don't realize that there is a magnetic pull of the other side. This happiness is dependent upon something over here, right? I don't realize this. And this pull of the other side is what is called in our Vedic Shastra as Jyotish, astrology. Can you understand? Somebody reads the pull, that in which direction your pendulum is going to move. Now, here we come across something, that there are two movements. One is this movement from here to here, but as it is moving up from here, this side is gaining, what do you call, momentum. It is gaining resource to take it back in this direction. And as it is exhausting in this direction, this side is gaining, what do you call, strength to pull it back in this direction. So there is one movement going this way, and there is an invisible movement, the pull of the other side in the other way, which we don't realize. So then we can come to a, what do you call, that time is separate in separate times. Right? You'll have to you'll have to draw this. Now draw the pendulum. Okay. Now I can draw over here. Yeah. I'm a stock market guy, so I'll first give you an example from the stock market, right? Now here the stock market is at its lowest point, right? From here the stock market starts moving up, and here it is at its highest point, right? Now we see that there are two movements. One which we can see, it is moving from low to high. I'm just taking the stock market as an example. Don't take this as a real thing, just as an example for us to understand what. Right? But there is also an invisible magnetic pull of the opposite side, which is increasing as we move in the opposite side. Right? Now, at this point, what do you call it? Right? And the market moves here, here, here. Aha, I say, oh, I made so much of profit, right? And I'm so happy. Now the market starts moving back. And I come to the same point again. Supposing this is 5,000 index, this is 7,000 index, and this is 10,000 index. So I come back to 7,000 and I say, oh, let me buy again. I'm at the same point in time. I'm at this, but I don't realize, but from 7,000, it is on its journey to go to 5,000. At that previous time when I bought, It was at 7,000 on his journey to go to 10,000. Can you understand what I'm saying? Time is separate at separate times. Pendulum tells us whether it is the right time to buy, in which direction is it going. You may be at the same space, you may be at the same point in time, but that does not mean anything, because from 7,000 it is going to go down to 5,000, right? And this is where we must awaken in life. Is it the right time to do it? I may be sitting, moving from here to here, and here it may be the right time to tell someone something. It may be the right time to talk to someone about something. But I come back to the same space now, let me talk to that person. But no, now is the time to be silent. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? So, time is never the same in the same time. So in the Bible, they have a beautiful, what do you call, they have a beautiful, what do you call, passage in the Old Testament, the Bible. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. Now, there is a magnetic pull of life. But at some point, the magnetic pull of death is going to overcome the magnetic pull of life, and it is going to take us away. I remember, like, one of my gurus was Swami Ram Dulare Bapu, and he spent 7 years. He built an ashram here in Madhopur only. His ashram is here. And most eventful 7 years of my life. One day, he's early in the morning, he's having his tea and breakfast. And suddenly he stops having his breakfast and he says, I can feel the pull of death. Death wants to the pull of death. So he did. I was in my night suit. He didn't allow us to change our clothes from the night suit. We straight away went into the car. And land for the ashram had been given by the Porbandar collector. And so we went to the collector's house in Porbandar, which is 60 kilometers or 1 hour away. And we reached there. Not the collector, the Mamlatdar, sorry, Mamlatdar. And we reached and his wife came to the door and says, he left 15 minutes ago. He left 15 minutes ago. So he said, okay, now let's go to Dwarka. We'll do darshan of Dwarka. Next day, it was in the papers. The Porbandar Mamlatdar dies in a car accident. Can you see the... So when the pull of death overcomes the pull of life, and here is a person who has risen in the pendulum. So suddenly he sees both poles. He can feel the pull of the other pole, and he knows, and he says, let's go and save this person. He dropped his breakfast, everything, and we went, right? Of course, we were not successful, is a different matter. So the Bible is saying there is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck. So we plant the seed, Now, when we are planting the seed, the rains have just fallen, and we only have so much time when there's proper moisture in the land to plant the seed. So we have to plant the seed fast, adhimatra, in a fast speed. Once the seed is planted, if we remain in that state of adhimatra, we have to now move to the state of mrudu. Move to the state of mrudu. Patience, wait. The seed will grow. But if I remain in the state of adhimatra, that I've already planted the seed, and next morning I go and dig up the dirt, has the seed grown? Has the seed grown? You see? So this whole scale, we have to become conscious where we become we become Madhya, where we become Adhimatra. And then he's saying there's something different where you rise above all three. So the Bible is saying there is a time to plant and there is a time to reap, right? But at the time of reaping, if we start planting, everything will burn in the sun and die. Similar what we did in the stock market. We bought at the same point where we made profit last time, but the market was going down from that point. The time was the same, still it was a different time. In life, we say that, what do you call, his time has come. In Gujarati, we say, daiko aayo, his 10 years have come. And 10 years of he's going to progress and, rise up in life and all. So time is different at different times, even though the time may be the same. And this we have to realize when we realize these laws of the pendulum, where to be Mrudu, where to be Madhya, where to be Adhimatra. There is a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. This is an old saying from the Bible. They're talking about the same thing, that in time you must do the right thing at the right time. If you do the right thing at the wrong time, it will turn out to be the wrong investment. So from this, we realize that in certain parts of time, things move up, and in certain parts of time, things move in a downward cycle. And it is when we move through this, we practice this Mrudu, Madhya, Adhima, we can read this very easily. So, like I said, the interconnection.
Please continue.
Yeah. You can hear, no?
It's, sir, it's getting stuck in between. I think Rajan Bhai's speaker is on mute. So I will message.
So time means change, and in its right time, everything is excellent. And in its wrong time, even the most excellent things are wrong. But time never is always moving. But identification means we wish things always to remain the same. How long will you love me? Till there are stars in the sky, you will keep on loving me. We always want things to be the same, and they can never be the same. The second thing is that when we are stuck to one end of the pendulum, right? When we are stuck to one end of the pendulum, we are so blind to the other side of the pendulum. We are so identified with this side of the pendulum. So in our normal thinking, to be able to see two together, and this is the beginning of Vivek, the power of discrimination, to be able to see two together. We cannot stop the swing of pendulum in life. The swing of pendulum is going to go on in life. We cannot stop, but we can be free of identifying between the ends, and slowly we increase our consciousness through the whole pathway. Actually, I came to stay in the ashram just about 1.5 years ago. And before that, for last 15-20 years, I was staying on my farm, which was 4 or 5 kilometers away. And I used to come on scooter every day to the ashram. And when you're on the scooter, and it's a very rough road, a kacha road, So you see a truck come in front of you, and you're relaxed going through the fields on the road, and suddenly the truck comes on the scooter, you become tense. So from relaxation, you move to tension, right? And then the truck goes away. From tension, you move back to relaxation. And I realized initially that I can only see these 2 points. Here I'm tense, here I'm relaxed. My consciousness is not fast enough to move through the whole line of how I move from relaxation to tension and from tension back to relaxation. Now, can you see, the only 2 points I can see are where the swing of the pendulum is slowest, right? But I want to come to this point where the swing of the pendulum is fastest, right? Where were both the sides balanced? And it is through rising in consciousness, and you practice till you come to a state where consciously you are able to move between relaxation and tension. And then you realize there is a place beyond relaxation and tension, from where you can observe relaxation also, and you can observe tension also. And so we can practice this in everything we do in our normal life. It's not just a big philosophy, right? But each time we move to the middle point, we rise a little in the middle point, there'll be this feeling of freedom, feeling of being above, that you have risen above, the pathway has gone, there is no sage, no residue, and suddenly you have lived a moment of life without any residue. Now, the essence of a person, the physical body, but beyond the physical body, the soul, and beyond the soul, the spirit, the Atma. The soul, the essence of a person is made of planetary matter. That's why it is called an astral body. It's made of planetary matter. And the horoscope gives us some idea of where we are in Adhimatra, where we are in Madhya, and where we are in Mrudu. And it also tells us which pathway we will take for our growth. Which pathway we will take for our growth. So, supposing I'm just giving you a basic outline. We don't want to go into astrology or something. Just to explain the same thing, that how deep this sutra is. So the Adhimatra, the one moving at fast speed, would be the sign of Capricorn, Makar. The one moving at slow speed would be the sign of the crab, Cancer, right? And the one moving at middle speed would be the fish. What do you call? Pisces. Now, in all of these, the balance would come in Libra, where you're able to balance both the sides. You come in the middle. So if we look at our horoscope, where we look at these 3 signs, we know where we have to balance what. If we are too impatient in this, then this is where the balance is, how we use the balance, right? So supposing my first house is Capricorn, then I may be walking very impatiently, right? So I have to bring slowness to that walk. I have to add from Adhimatra, bring Mrudu to that walk. How do I balance things? This is just an outline. And in that balance, we touch upon the sign of Libra, where things are equal. And from Libra, we move to the higher sign, which is Aquarius. Aquarius is the the picture of water, and it is that picture of water which we carry. And when you know how the ladies carry the picture of water on the farms in the villages, I mean, they are so balanced in their movement, not a drop of water falls out. So when we reach that sign of Aquarius, we have moved through the whole, range, the whole, scale of Mrudu, Madhya, Adhimatra. We have used that scale, but we have reached something else, total balance. We are carrying the picture of water on our heads, and we are moving through life without dropping a, drop of water. And if anybody is thirsty, we can take the water and give that person water to quench his thirst. You know what I mean by quenching the thirst. So we can quench the thirst. So even in an astrological way, we can look at this sutra a little bit from a different angle. So I'm going to stop here. Like I said, it was a little difficult this week with Tavariya Sahib taking this sutra into book 3. So it had to be something which leads us to a different state of samadhi. I hope I've been able to come across. I've tried my best. It was a little difficult, but if there are any questions, we can still take those questions. Thank you.
Anybody has a question, please unmute.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
May I ask a question, sir?
Please.
Yes, please, ma'am. Go ahead.
So, one thing that stood out in today's, it was very clear. One thing that is kind of a bulb moment for me was, when I see your nature in me, I am liberated. I am freed from opposites.
Yes.
You said there is a Duryodhana and Shakuni in each one of us.
All the characters, all 101.
All the characters. So it applies for good traits also.
So it requires a certain perception, a certain darshan to be able to see them. Right? Otherwise, if you are Duryodhana, I'm a very good man. So then I'm living in the opposite. I will say, you are Duryodhana, you are so selfish, you are this, you are that. Right? Definitely, I'm not selfish if I'm calling you selfish. Right? But if somebody can point out my selfishness, that same Duryodhana is there, is the lying, then there's a cancelling out. Then I don't judge you. I know I am what I call you. And in that moment, there is freedom. There is expansion of consciousness.
It's a terrific bulb moment. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. He has to unmute. Rakesh ji has to unmute. You have to unmute, Rakesh ji.
Yeah, unmuted. जो आपने शेषयति बताया, where you gave an example of bones and the lion who ate it. So does it have anything to take with the Purnamida Purnamidam, that shlok, that if you take out something from something, it comes out full and it's still there? Like you said, कि आपने कुछ बात की किसी से, उसका शेष रह गया, that keeps on moving like a pendulum. So is there a way where it actually...
So when there is no shesh,
right,
then you have touched the Purna.
Okay.
And you realize that shesh was a part of that Purna only. Or you have used the shesh to rise into Purna.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, no question, sir.
No, only on the internet, any question?
There is one question on the internet.
Can I ask about magnet, please?
Yes, sir, Harsha Parekh wants to ask. Ma'am, can you please start your video so that I can pin you?
Okay, 1 second. Okay.
Yes.
Is it on? Yeah. Okay, Rajan bhai, તમારા
Yes,
ગુજરાતી લેક્ચરમાં આપણે કીધેલું મેગ્નેટ મૂકવાનું આગ્યા ચક્ર પર, તો નોર્થ સાઈડ અહીંયા વચમાં મૂકવાનું ને?
Right. So the north side of the magnet must touch your here, between the two eyebrows.
Just wanted to clarify. અને તમે કીધું વેલ્ક્રો બાંધવાનું.
So if you have a velcro, it will stick over there.
So
If you have
is
a
it possible
what
if
they
I
call
lie
belt,
down in Shavasana?
I can't hear.
Okay, if I lie down in Shavasana and put it here, is that okay? And then do the Gayatri mantra?
Yeah, that is fine. That is fine. That is fine.
Okay.
Don't do it for more than 20 minutes. Huh?
Yes, yes. I'm doing with your tip
Right.
on that. Okay, thank you very much.
There is a question online.
Right.
From Harsh. He's saying, "Hi sir, I am a beginner. I am doing inner discipline and 3 SRB exercises. But my problem is that I'm age 19, but my problem is I'm not able to cut down my food quantity."
Oh, but I think, Harsh, you've got it a little wrong, because Mr. Tavaria was very clear that not to experiment with food till you're over 25. So till 25, just enjoy your food. Don't cut down on food. Don't bring any logic into food. Enjoy yourself. Eat whatever food you want. Don't bother about that. After 25, we start working upon food. Yeah. I think there are no more questions. I don't think.
Yes, sir. No more questions.
Okay, now we are meeting in May.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
10th May. We will
10th
see you
May.
on 10th May.
10th May. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
May
Shall we
I ask a question? One
Yeah,
moment.
please.
Yes.
It's not really a question. Last time there was some number given, Prashant Bhai or somebody. And I didn't get it. What was it for? To join a group or something? I'm not clear. What was it?
No, if you wanted the Yoga Sutra or any of Mr. Tavaria's books, that is for that.
No. I think I have it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought there was some group for your, getting all information about your programs and classes and all. That is what I understood. Okay.
There is also a group, but that you'll have to talk to either Ketav or Ketav. You talk to Ketav on the phone privately.
So can I have the number, or somebody will pass on the number? How to go
Ketav
about it?
he's just written his number.
Please, ma'am, take it down from the chat box.
I'm not so fast. You will have to hold on a minute, please. Could you repeat the number, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's 977.
Just a minute. I'm writing it down. 977
36
36
82
82
823.
823. I'll repeat it. 977 36 82 823. Right?
Yes.
This is
Correct.
Ketav. I'll speak to. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Sir, thank you for the books that we ordered. Mr. Prashant Bhai was very helpful.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Om Sehna Bhavatu Sehno Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karvavahi Tejasvina Vaditamatsu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Thank you.